Shalom, everyone. So I found the most amazing story about Christ, and I would like to read it to you guys, but I want to wait a little bit longer for people to come in. I don't know if you guys can see me or not. Probably not. Here, let me do it this way. Oh, there we go. Boom, light. All right. So, I'm going to start at verse 55, and this is in the book of Achee. I don't know if you have this book or no, but this is the book of Achee, or the books of Achee. And we're going to start at verse 55. Oh, I feel like I need like a booster. I'll be back. All right. There we go. Okay. A little bit of height. And let's go. So we're in the book of Achee again. I'm sorry. And verse 55. And it came to pass, after his 40 days were ended, that Messiah went from there across the valley of Armageddon unto Nazareth of Chinnereth, to the house of his mother. And there he rested himself on the second day of the week, which was in that year the Sabbath, for those in the temple religion. Messiah decided to go to the reading house where the people worshipped, and his mother and some of his brethren followed him to see what he would do. And they durst not enter with him, or did not enter with him, but remained to look in at the door. And when he went in, all the crowd in the house was moved to silence, because they had never had one from the church come into their house of reading. And not anyone dressed as he was in white linen had ever entered there. And all the people of the house were astonished, and they quit their usual activities. And the master of the reading house approached, and he said, "Let any man who enters this house do as we do here." And Messiah said, "What is it you wish me to do?" And the master said, "In this holy place we read. In this holy place we read." Hold on. We read from the holy word and then interpret it according to our traditions. And he handed him the book of Isaiah. And Messiah turned to the place where it said, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord, and the day of the visitation of our God, to comfort all that mourn, to point unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified." And he closed the book and sat himself down and began to speak. And he said, "This day all these words are fulfilled before your eyes in me." And all the house was silent with astonishment. And they knew that the church was called a tree of righteousness, the planting of the Lord by the sect of the Nazarenes. And they all were silent before him. And he arose and left the place, and was speaking with those of his house by a well of water, not far distant. And the people of the house came all together and approached him. And the master of the house, whose name was Chesed, hold on one second. Sorry, I know you guys couldn't hear me, but baby. So, where was I? Chesed, whose name was Chesed, jumped up upon the stones of the well and stood upon its cover. And he said, never come into our reading house again, for you have polluted it with your boasting, and you seek to lift up your sect before our eyes. So it sounds like to me that somebody got jealous. I mean, yeah. And it came to pass that the people became stirred by the shoutings of Chesed, and the men of the place took Messiah, and they carried him to the brow of a steep hill filled with sharp rocks and trash from the city. Sounds like a landfill to me. So they took him to the trash dump, and it had very sharp rocks. And they stood forth at the brink to cast him down. And so they're in front of him, and they're like shouting at him, and they're this, All right. And the mother of Messiah was weeping. And as they were about to cast him down headlong, a strange thing occurred. So as they were about to grab him, something happened. Something came in their midst that they've never felt before. Regel rebelled and would not allow her dear one to be hurt, and Ebedel would not permit the loved one to be dashed against her. Regel, I believe, let me make sure, but I think that's the hills. Yes, the hills and the rocks. Ebedel is the rocks, and would not permit the loved one to be dashed against her, which they called, when he was younger, they called him Little Feet. And the force of the feelings of the Irkideshoy flooded over the people, and the force of the spirit of the Irkideshoy was so strong that the men stood still, and they could not tell from where it came, nor what it meant. And Messiah passed by them as they could not shake their stupor, and he said, so he walks right past them as they were about to grab him and throw him on the rocks, because he said that he is basically our comforter. That's crazy. Walking in his purpose, All right. And he said, come, mother, let us return unto your house to rest ourselves. And when they got home, his mother said, what happened that they cast you not down? And Messiah taught them of the love of the Irkideshoy for him. And it came to pass that on the next day, we're in verse 60, by the way, in the book of Achee, the first book of Achee, chapter 9, verse 60. And it came to pass that on the next day, Messiah was walking about alone in an empty field. And he came upon a child playing upon the ground, and he was 3 years old. 3 years old. And he had fallen and put out his eye, poor baby. And it was putrefying within his face. So it was becoming infected and stuff, and you can't expect a little child to basically take care of its eye and different stuff if he has he's hurted or there's an open wound, because they want to play. Same thing with this massive situation. But anyway, and it was putrefying within his face, which means to become infected. And dirt clung unto that which ran out of it upon his cheek. So when you have something that is becoming infected, it starts to leak, inflammation or pus. Okay, so that mixed with dirt was coming out upon his cheek. Now the child had a pot of water, and he was making mud. And Messiah tenderly bent down, and dipping his cloak in the water, he began to wash the face of the child. And the child held his face up to him patiently. Must have felt really nice, you think? And stood still. And the Lord washed the dirt off his cheek and gently washed his eye. And when he was done, the child could see. And Messiah walked on, but the child kept playing. And when the child went home, his mother saw him seeing, and his eye was clean. And she said, "What happened that your eye is healed?" So confused. I don't know. I would be rejoicing and confused at the same time. I would be asking the same thing. She said, "What happened that your eye is healed?" And he said to his mother, who was the daughter of Chesed. Now remember, Chesed was the one that came out of the reading house and had convinced everyone to go against Christ and to throw him down on those rocks. Okay, remember that. His mother, who was the daughter of Chesed, "Mother, I can see. My eye was not put out. It was just dirty." And it's so cute because it's a child and it has a childlike mind. And this is how this baby understood this. And it's so pure and so beautiful. You know what I'm saying? "Mother, I can see. My eye was not put out. It was just dirty. And a man washed it for me. And now it is clean and I can see." And his mother knew that his eye was not just dirty. And she said, "Show me the man." And the child took his mother to the house of Mary. And pointing at Messiah, he said, "There he is." And his mother fell down before him and wept. And she said, "Thank you, Master, for returning good for evil." This story right here touched me so much because it reminds me, of all the good that I have done for others, and that it reminds me, even though I might get evil in return or evil in the beginning, and I always beat myself up because I'm like, why am I like this? Why do I care so much? And I know they're going to do me wrong. I know this is going to happen, but I still do it. And I still help. And then this story makes me look at it in a different light, is that we are called to be different. We are called to have the hearts that we do, and to be compassionate and caring, not to be stupid, but to be passionate and caring. And I had to learn the difference between being a doormat and actually being long-suffering and compassionate to others. And with this child was so innocent and had done nothing wrong, even though the Lord understood that this was a grandchild of Chesed. And this situation honestly might have happened during the time that, around the time that they tried to throw him off the cliff. You know what I mean? And so he's walking by, and in his heart, he's like, "Oh, this poor baby." And he can see, that the baby is suffering, regardless of the fact that their fathers or their mothers were wicked or whatever the case may be. He still stooped down without saying a word and just healed him. And that just reminds me that not to think about all the negative things that others have done, or what could happen because of my experiences, but to put up healthy boundaries and to still learn to be compassionate without having to be a people pleaser or a doormat. And this reminds me of the compassion and the long suffering and the love that Motsah the Lamb has for us and for everyone, because he makes the sun shine on the wicked and the righteous. And I hope that you guys got a good message out of this today. And I want you guys to know, if nobody has told you today, that I love you and I care for you and I'm praying for you. I hope to see you when that day comes, so that we can rejoice together. Shalom and blessings.